Hello! As you may or may not know, at the time I'm filming this video, Easter is coming up, and when I think of Easter, I think of, obviously Jesus rising from the dead, and springtime and stuff, but I also think of second chances. And in honor of a holiday about second chances, because of the rising from the dead thing, I am going to talk about a book that I finally finished last year after 8 months of slaving away at it. That is probably one of the ultimate second chance stories in all of literature, and that is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. So if you somehow haven't seen the movie and haven't ever been in high school theater where people were singing the songs from the musical at the top of their lungs, love you, high school theater friends. Then here's a little bit about the movie. It centers on this man named Jean Valjean who lives in the sort of 18 teens in France, and he is arrested for stealing a loaf of bread to help feed his sister's family, who he's responsible for providing for. And he probably would have not served as long a sentence if he hadn't kept trying to escape. He was there for like 20 years. And he finally gets out, and he takes refuge in a church for the night and steals some candlesticks to get some money. And it's discovered that he stole the candlesticks, but the priest who he stole from actually says no, they were a gift, and decides to give him a second chance. And so he becomes a better person and actually is very well respected by the members of his community. But there's that little teeny detail about him being a criminal. And there's this one guy who's in law enforcement who is absolutely obsessed with catching Jean Valjean and exposing him. And so this guy is like following him for the entire time that he's trying to make a better life for himself, which is sad. And this also takes place during a time of major upheaval in France. It's a few years post French Revolution, I guess a few decades really, but there's still lots of questions about should royalty be in charge? Should it be a republic? Should the people have more say in how they are treated and governed? And so those questions are dealt with in the book as well. And I had seen the musical because, like I said, high school theater, you kind of could not escape it, even if you wanted to. And I do like the musical, and I loved The Hunchback of Notre Dame, the book, when I read it a few years ago, so I decided to try this one out, and I'm really glad that I did. So it's been a little bit since I finished the book, and it's real long. That sucker's about 1,400 pages in the English translation I read, which was by Isabel F. Hapgood, I think. I'm going to talk a little bit about several quotes from this book that made me feel things, sometimes completely without my consent, but nevertheless, I did derive some small enjoyment from this total pain that I felt because, at least you're feeling something. It's quarantine. We were all kind of numb. First on my list, I'm going in reverse order of how hard they made me cry, is a quote from Marius's grandfather. Marius is a character that falls in love with Cosette, who is Jean Valjean's adopted daughter, and he lives with his grandfather, whose name is Monsieur Gillenormand. And this quote is from the grandfather, and he says, "Love one another. Be foolish about it. Love is the folly of men and the wit of God. Adore each other." And I was like, aw, that's sweet. Like, I mainly had like a little sniff, like, oh, that's a really sweet idea. Because can you ever have too much love? I don't think so. Some people might say that you can, but I would argue that that kind of love is actually obsession and it is not love at all. So shut up, Friar Lawrence from Romeo and Juliet. You kind of got 2 teenagers killed, although, maybe that wasn't your fault because they couldn't communicate because they hadn't learned that life skill yet. But in any case, do not love moderately. Love with gusto. Love with everything you have. Next one, number 7. Cosette and Marius beheld each other once more. What that interview was like, we decline to say. There are things which one... Oh, come on. Ugh, this is such a nice quote, and I've ruined it. I have to start again. What that interview was like, we decline to say. There are things which one must not attempt to depict. The sun is one of them. And I was like, that was another one that I was like, oh, that's really sweet, because these two have not seen each other in a long time. They kind of had this weird romance where like for several years they sort of like passed each other in the street and like looked at each other kind of. And but they did actually have like a lot of conversations after that and did get to know each other, and it's really cute and innocent. And Victor Hugo is just taking a cop out here. He's like, I cannot even describe how awesome it was when they saw each other again, because that would be like looking into the sun. You literally could not handle the cuteness. You would be incinerated, and then nobody would be left to read my very long book and my very long treatise on the history of sewers in Paris for all of time. And we do not want that, do we? Next one is a quote about Jean Valjean when he's trying to reinvent himself, and it goes like this. Books are cold but safe friends. Okay, fine. Call me out then. Seriously though, I really do kind of relate to this, because sometimes books are just easier to handle than people are. I feel like books are for, at least novels and, you know, character-driven novels, a lot of us book lovers like things like that. They're kind of like, they're for people who are like afraid of real people but are interested in what they do, and so they have this like very safe and compact way to experience interpersonal things without actually having to interact with an unpredictable actual person. And I relate to that a little bit too much, honestly. Real talk here, the pandemic has taught me that sometimes books are not enough and words on a page are not enough. And books, they can't really love you back, I guess. So I suppose they are cold, though they are safe. Okay, that got a little bit too real. I've been inside too long, guys. So let's move on to the next one. Let's hope it'll be a bit more joyful. Number 5. It is nothing to die. It is dreadful not to live. You know, in a video about quotes from a book that made me cry, I don't know why I had any hope for that. This is something Jean Valjean says as he is dying, and he's very sick. And he, and Cosette and Marius are like, oh my gosh, can we do anything? Like, we want to save you. And he said, you know what, dying, I can do that, but not living, that's something I don't want to do. So I'm just gonna put it out there. I thought that this was sad and it kind of got me in the blood pumping muscle here, but I feel like anti-maskers could potentially use this to twist to their own perspective and be like, this is why I don't wear a mask and why I don't follow quarantine, because not living is worse than dying or whatever. That's not true if other people's lives are on the line. This only applies to your life, so shut up. Then this one is something that Marius is saying when he thinks he might have to flee the country. What difference did it make to him whether he was in France or in England, provided he had Cosette beside him? Cosette was his nation. That's really cute. I mean, I make fun of these two because they, like, you know, met passing each other in the street, and in the movie it's even funnier because they like meet through a fence or whatever. And they're kind of corny, but that's really cute actually, because in a way the people you love are your nation. When I was living abroad in Bogota and in Santiago, and those cities are in Colombia and Chile, respectively. I wasn't in the country that I was born in, but in a way, like, the friends I made there and the people I grew to love there became my nation, my country, my people. And so I think that this idea of people being your nation, that's really profound. I like it. This is another quote from Monsieur Gillenormand, and he says, if people did not love each other, I really do not see what use there would be in having any springtime. Me neither, man. I don't either. I don't know. That one doesn't seem like a really weepy one. I don't know why it made me cry more than the other ones. But maybe it's because springtime is a time to spend with the people you love. We're happy about spring because the weather's getting warmer, so we can do things outside, so we can see our loved ones. I don't know. I like how he put that too. It's very understated. Okay, number 2, we're getting into kind of crying territory here. So long as it was for her, I could lie. But now it would be for myself, and I must not. All right, so this is Jean Valjean. Sorry. But this comes at like the part in the book where he knows that he's dying, and also he knows he has to finally reveal to his daughter and her husband why he's been on the run, the fact that he's been on the run, what he did, the fact that he's a criminal. And in the past, he'd always been able to lie because for a long time he was lying to protect Cosette, because like what would happen to her if people found out her adopted father was a criminal? Like that would be really bad. But now she doesn't need it. She's happy, she's married, and if he is going to keep lying, it would just be for his own pride. He's not trying to protect anyone. He doesn't need protection anymore. He's safe, and so he's got to come clean. And damn it, this book. Okay. Okay, we're almost done. I'm probably gonna make it through the last sentence. I don't know though. I might have to turn the camera off, we'll see. Monsieur Gillenormand, without, however, acknowledging it to himself, for it would have rendered him furious and ashamed, had never loved a mistress as he loved Marius. Look, man. So, I know that Monsieur Gillenormand is kind of the worst TM in some ways. He's a royalist, so we don't like that. He is kind of a snob. He didn't want to take Marius in at first because his father was like a revolutionary. And honestly, like by the end of the book, we're not entirely sure if he's like for the revolution now or for like people having more autonomy rather than royalty taking over, or whether he is just like so happy to see Marius back that he doesn't care. But I just love him. He's a really striking personality. He's just this old man who's full of life and vigor and really enjoys his life, and nothing can squash that out of him. And what can I say? I have this weird soft spot for like old cantankerous men, especially in literature, who think that they have to be tough and like manly and not love anybody or anything, but then they have this wonderful overflowing love for something in their lives, and sometimes that's like their garden, and sometimes it's their cat, and sometimes it's their grandson who tries to be a revolutionary, and it makes them very upset, but they love their grandson so much and they miss him so much when he is gone, and they are very sad, and I am very sad too. There's kind of a sad scene where Marius leaves and Monsieur Gillenormand just sort of like falls back in his chair and he's like, no more, I will see no more people. They hurt too much, and what can I say? I just love to see men defeat toxic masculinity. I don't know. Sue me. Okay, so I made it through that without completely falling apart. So I hope that you enjoyed these little snippets of Les Miserables that made me fall in love with it. And I hope that if you haven't read the book and you were touched by some of the quotes that I read out, that maybe you'll seek it out. It's really long, and there is a really long passage about the history of sewers, but I promise it is worth it. And honestly, Victor Hugo is such a giant like drama queen that everything, even if it's boring, it's kind of interesting. So I would definitely recommend this book, and it's a good book for this season because it's kind of about second chances and making a new name for yourself, even if you think it might be impossible. So that's it for this week. I hope you all have a good Easter if you celebrate. If not, I hope that you are enjoying the springtime. And I hope that we can get out and actually see each other very soon. Bye.